What could it be? A mystery for the ages.
President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing.
No! No! I refuse! I'm sick of it!
If you came up with the picture of an annoying, insufferable white woman, it would be Meghan Markle, even though she's not white.
Meghan Markle has finally revealed why she and Prince Harry call each other M and H.
Yeah, they were very worried about their safety, which I get that aspect of things. After 6 episodes, I wanted to attack them.
There's something terrifying about the moment the world stops clapping. One day you're praised as brave, bold, a symbol of modern royalty. The next, you're a walking punchline blasted by comedians, mocked by animation, and laughed at by the very Hollywood elite you once called friends. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle didn't just fall from grace, they spiraled. And if you think this is just another round of gossip, think again. This is the story of how two people who once commanded global sympathy became the subject of viral memes. It's the ultimate case study in how quickly public perception can flip and how brutal the fallout can be when it does. But before we dive into the takedown that stunned the world, do this right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we don't do fluff here. We do truth, impact, and the stories that make headlines for all the wrong reasons. And what happened to Meghan and Harry? It's not just scandal, it's a cautionary tale. It all began with a joke. Colin Jost, deadpan, as ever on Saturday Night Live. Wants in return is that we keep these two, the audience roared. It wasn't just funny, it was a release. A wave of unfiltered laughter that said what millions had been thinking but were too polite to admit. And that's when the floodgates opened, because once a joke lands that hard, others follow. Relentlessly unapologetic ally, the timing was perfect. Meghan and Harry's glossy image had been stretched too thin. The Netflix docuseries, the Spotify deal, the memoirage one, added polish, but also suspicion. Was this really about healing or headlines? Saturday Night Live didn't ask for permission, they ripped into it over and over again. Whether it was comparing Harry to an unemployed immigrant or turning Meghan's Suits role into a sitcom farce, now it was comedy hour, but SNL was just the beginning. The Golden Globes handed a mic to Joe Coy and he didn't hesitate. That was the point. In a room full of actors, producers, and creatives who'd actually worked for their careers, the Sussex's brand of royal monetization hit a sour note. They weren't seen as creators, they were seen as freeloaders. Next came Trevor Noah, who didn't attack their deals. He got inside Meghan's head. She looked at Harry and said, "You need to get a job." It was the comedy version of a knife twist, because when the woman who dragged you out of the royal palace starts sounding like a disappointed wife, it's over. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't any gentler. He tore into the irony of fleeing royal racism, only to land in a Netflix boardroom. And then, with one more shot, they should hope that kid looks like Meghan. No offense, but Harry kind of looks like Screech. They were about exploiting it. The speeches about trauma, the tearful interviews, the highly produced docuseries. Into punchlines, when Meghan gushed about calling Harry H and him calling her M, Colbert smirked. A mystery for the ages. The royal love story had been rebranded as a cringe fest, but things took a darker turn when Fallon tore it to shreds. She takes food from one bag, puts it in another bag. That confuses people. And that's when you realize the shift had happened. It was annihilation, because the moment Hollywood turns on Youtha, moment even the late night, hosts start rolling their eyes. It's not about scandal anymore. It's about being irrelevant. Even Meghan's yoga story made headlines for all the wrong reasons. When she skipped a major celebrity event because she didn't want to overcrowd her favorite yoga studio, James Corden tried to play it cool. But his face said it all. "What the hell are you talking about?" It was absurd, pretentious, and everyone knew it. But nothing and Chris Rock. These weren't quick one-liners. These were full-scale assassinations. Gervais mocked the royals to their faces. White woman even, though she's not white, and Chris Rock. He said what millions were thinking but were too scared to say. Yes, the royal family is old, weird, and deeply traditional. Rock undercut it with surgical precision. Even black people want to know how brown the baby is gonna be. The crowd didn't know whether to laugh or flinch, so they did both. And just when you thought the takedown was complete, the cartoons arrived. When South Park entered the arena, it wasn't to play nice. It was to nuke what was left of Harry and Meghan's public credibility. The episode titled The Worldwide Privacy Tour didn't just mock them, incinerated their entire brand. From Harry's rebranded memoir WOG to their global jet-setting while shouting, "We want privacy." Through megaphones, it captured exactly what the public had been screaming into the void. The hypocrisy wasn't exaggerated. It was illustrated. South Park didn't invent anything. They simply held up a mirror and let it burn. The parody version of Meghan was obsessed with attention, clout, and image. The parody, Harry, clueless, spineless, a royal reject turned influencer sidekick. One scene said it all. The animated journalist asks, "So, you hate journalists?" Harry replies, "That's right. And you wrote a tell-all book." "Yep. So, you're a journalist?" Boom. No punchline needed, just silence. The kind that kills. And then Family Guy delivered the final slap. No setup. Just a sharp jab about Harry getting paid millions for no one knows what. It wasn't loud, it wasn't theatrical, but it was lethal. Because by now, the Sussexes weren't seen as victims or villains. They were seen as irrelevant. Wealthy, directionless, self-obsessed ghosts of their former selves, haunting the tabloids they claimed to hate. And then came the worst part, the moment Harry exposed himself live during an interview with Stephen Colbert. Colbert tried to toss him a lifeline. He offered a quote, "Let us have an end to the debate about what makes a good man, and just be one." It was an opening, a soft pitch. Harry, he missed it entirely, smirked, mumbled, then fumbled through a sentence so awkward it hurt to watch. That's the part we're editing out. Then came the flicker, that flash of anger, the quiet fury behind his eyes. The mask slipped, and for the first time, people saw what the comedy had been pointing to all along. This wasn't about trauma. This wasn't about truth. This was about control. About selling a story so polished, so prepackaged, it started to crack under its own perfection because the public doesn't mind if you're broken. They mind if you're fake. And somewhere along the way, Harry and Meghan stopped being human and started being product. That's why the comedians pounced. That's why the jokes landed. Because you can mock a brand. You can drag a product. But real pain, real people, that hits different. And that's the tragedy. Because there was a moment early on when Harry and Meghan had the world's sympathy. When they had power, truth, purpose. But now, they have Netflix contracts, overpriced jam, a cooking show without cooking, and an audience that stopped clapping. They wanted to be normal. They wanted to escape the spotlight. But every deal, every appearance, every filtered quote dragged them deeper into the machine they claimed to hate. So now the only question left is the one no press release can answer. Can they come back? Can Harry and Meghan strip away the polish and earn back real respect? Or has the story already been told and laughed at? Because the comedians weren't just being mean, they were being honest. And the crowd didn't just laugh, they agreed. If you've made it this far, you already know we don't do sugar-coated, we do unfiltered truth. So if you want more deep dives like this, hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and join the conversation. Because next time, we're going even deeper.